Welcome to American Black Journal. I'm Stephen Henderson. University of Detroit Mercy is an urban institution committed to engaging with the community and participating in the rebirth of the city. The school is collaborating on a number of initiatives to help strengthen neighborhoods and attract businesses to the area surrounding its campus at Livernois and McNichols. One of the projects involves the improvement of medians, sidewalks, and landscaping along Livernois. The groundbreaking ceremony was held last month to kick off Phase 1 of the Streetscape Enhancement Project. The university and several partners are providing $1.3 million to revitalize the stretch of Livernois between the Lodge Freeway and 8 Mile Road. Here to talk about that project and other university programs is the president of University of Detroit Mercy, Dr. Antoine Garibaldi. Welcome back to American Black Journal.
Thank you, Steve.
Always good to see you.
Good to see you.
I want to start with a discussion just about your impressions of Detroit. The last time I had you here, you were new. You were new to the campus. You were new to the city. We talked a little bit about the connections you have to Detroit. You have a lot of family here, I know that. But I'm curious. I'm always curious with people who've just come here. What do you think of this? What do you think of this place?
Well, it's been a really great move, and we've really been happy with all the things that are going on here.
Yeah.
There are certainly lots of things to do, whether we're talking about working with the city or education and lots of other areas as well, too. So one of the things that has happened is that people were very quick to get me involved, and I definitely wanted to be involved.
Yeah.
And so there are lots of different organizations.
There's a lot of work to do around here,
lot of organizations. And of course, it came at a very good time from my standpoint, with the city really being on the rebound. And over the last 3 years, a lot of things have happened, and I'm very pleased that the university has been very actively engaged in that.
Yeah, and you came here from New Orleans, another city that has experienced some real lows and is trying to get back to a higher point. How do you feel like the two places compare?
Well, the two places are very similar. Even though it's been about 19 years since I've been in New Orleans, and had some stops along the way in Washington, D.C., and also in Erie, Pennsylvania. A lot of the issues, whether it's dealing with education, issues related to crime, also rebuilding the city and trying to connect with more businesses and the like, very similar.
That's similar.
Right.
You would see the same thing in New Orleans.
Right. So I tell people now next year will be 10 years since Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans.
Right.
Certainly, Detroit has been looking at what has happened in New Orleans since 2005, and vice versa.
Right.
New Orleans is looking at Detroit to see how we can improve things, and the recent hire, for example, of the DEGC director, Rod
from New Orleans,
Rod Miller from New Orleans also, is one of those things where you can transfer a lot of the same kinds of things that you did in one city into another one. So I consider it just an urban environment where there's certainly a lot to do, and where there's a great support from the metropolitan area as well.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk about the university's work along that Livernois stretch. When I was a kid, and certainly before that, that was one of the most dynamic commercial areas of the city. The Avenue of Fashion, I believe it was called. For some time, it really did hit a low point in the last 20 or so years. I was just over there the other week on a weekend with my kids, going to a new bookstore over there, and I was surprised by how much has changed, and you can tell that the university is starting to really find its footing in playing that role.
Sure. Well, our School of Architecture and the Detroit Collaborative Design Center has certainly been a big part of that over the last 6 or 7 years, and with great support from the Kresge Foundation and also the Ford Foundation, they've been able to do a lot of things that you really need financial resources to do. So a lot of that focus when I arrived in 2011 was placed between 6 Mile and 8 Mile. Our interest was to try to expand that from the Lodge Freeway to 6 Mile, which is one of the reasons for the Livernois Streetscape Enhancement Project, which is largely funded through a $1 million grant from MDOT through the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation, and then support from the university and also the Kresge Foundation and some other partners. So the intent is really to increase not just the opportunities for commercial development along the entire strip, but it's also to solidify and to stabilize a lot of the great housing and residential areas around the neighborhood.
Right, right. And for people who are not familiar, I mean, you've got the sort of golf course neighborhood along 6 Mile. You have University District,
Right.
which is north of 6 Mile, and Sherwood Forest and Palmer Woods are around there. Green Acres. Those were always very stable areas of the city, middle class areas of the city that got hit pretty hard and are trying to come back too.
Right. And two other critical areas are Martin Park,
Martin Park and
Pilgrim Village.
Pilgrim Village, sure.
So I'll be meeting with the groups of individuals from that board very soon. But they have been a part of it, and certainly they support some of the things that we want to do, but we know we can't do it alone. Right. So the Fitzgerald neighborhood, previously called Fitzgerald, now called University, the core, very, very important areas, and because they are right in the middle of us and Marygrove College. That's an area that we really would like to see come back in the way that it was in the 50s. So getting all of the partners together, and then getting University Commons as well, and getting some support from some of the other community organizations, certainly the police force as well. Those are going to be very, very critical in stabilizing the neighborhood. And for our students and our faculty, many of them live in the nearby neighborhood.
Area, sure.
And we'd like to see that as an opportunity for us to really be able to populate that with even more students and faculty. So they appreciate the opportunity to be able to do service work in the neighborhood and throughout the city. But that's really the role of an urban university and the role of any university, quite frankly.
Right, right. And I feel like all of the universities in the city and colleges are starting to rethink what their role can be in the city. You mentioned Marygrove, Wayne as well, is really looking at, okay, what can we do to sort of have an impact on the area around us that maybe is not our campus, but is part of our community.
Right. Well, that's one of the strong points, I think, of the universities in Detroit, because Wayne State, Marygrove, also Wayne County Community College, ourselves, we've been talking and also developing plans, not just for partnerships, but even ways to improve the educational attainment of a lot of our students in the area too. So that has been really good, and it's always great if you can get 4 presidents down and say, look, we want to do this together, because we know one of us alone cannot do it.
Right. And at U of D, UW Mercy, you have sort of involvement across disciplines, right? There's lots and lots of different parts of the university that are participating in that.
Well, we have 7 schools and colleges, and at the McNichols campus, we have all of the colleges with the exception of the law school and the dental school, which are in other locations downtown, the Riverfront campus, and then the dental school, which is over in Corktown. But on McNichols, we have a lot of the undergraduate and the graduate students, and so they're able to really get very, very involved in things that are citywide. And the nice thing for us too is that our students in the law school and our dental students as well get involved in activities that might relate to some of the other colleges, whether it's architecture or liberal arts and education or business, our College of Health Professions as well, and very definitely our College of Engineering and Science.
Right. The streetscaping, that's a big sort of sign, right? I mean, it's an outward sign that things are different. It's a more welcoming place, and stretching that from the lodge to 8 Mile is really important to you guys, because you front onto Livernois there.
Well, this particular project is phase 1, and I can't thank enough the work of the Kresge Foundation and the Detroit Economic Growth Corporation for helping to put this together, because I certainly couldn't do it alone, and none of the individuals at the university could. But there are actually 5 phases to it, so there are a lot of other things that need to be done along that strip. But I felt pretty strongly coming here that I was getting off at the lodge every day when I was living downtown initially, and said this is really the gateway to the Avenue of Fashion. And some of the things that I saw really were not as appealing. So, like many neighborhoods, and we can talk about Philadelphia when the University of Pennsylvania got involved in some of those activities as well. once that started to change, people thought very, very differently about the neighborhood. It was also great for the residents in the neighborhood as well. And we think that that's going to spur some economic development, and we also think that it might spur some additional residential development going forward.
Yeah, and that benefit, you know, accrues not just to the university, but to that whole neighborhood. The people who live there, the businesses that are there, they get something out of things looking better.
Absolutely, and it's a start. I mean, the mayor certainly has been very, very supportive of a lot of the work. He's working very closely with the Mayor Grove College area as well. There are lots of neighborhoods around town that could benefit from a lot of that support too.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we thought we could do by getting started with MDOT is begin to try to identify some other philanthropic agencies as well as some of the federal agencies that might be able to provide some financial support. So it's going to be a continuous project for the next 5 years.
Yeah, yeah. I also understand that there are new opportunities at the college for kids in Catholic schools, is that right?
That's right. We have a new Catholic education grant, and that Catholic education grant will be for students who have gone to Catholic schools from first grade or kindergarten through 12th grade. Be $20,000, 5-year, $5,000 a year if you graduated through those 12 years and went to Catholic schools. And then if you went to a Catholic high school, that will be $2,500 a year, so for a total of $10,000 over 4 years.
Right.
It's intended to certainly help the Archdiocese with its increase in the numbers of students in many of the elementary and secondary schools.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are only 3 Catholic schools, elementary schools
left
in town, and across the street is Jesu, which is certainly has historically been one of the outstanding schools, but there are others as well. And we just think that we know that there are lots of students who are interested in the academic programs that we have at the university, and we think that that will help them. In addition to that, students will also be able to use scholarship grants, academic grants, for those particular purposes. And I just want to say that we've been doing a lot of work also with a lot of the public schools in the area, certainly Detroit Public Schools, some of the schools in the EAA, and also Utica, Oak Park, and many others in Macomb as well. So there are some great scholarship opportunities.
And work, you mean when you're working with these schools?
Well, it's collaborative activities, working with the superintendents, and then making sure that students are aware of some of the
opportunities. Sure.
Right. So we have lots of field days. A lot of times when students will come, we've invited lots of the counselors from the area, because 80% of our students are from the state of Michigan.
From here, sure.
So we want to increase that number even more too. So we use 4 messages. We say great academics, great values, great Jesuit and mercy values in a great American city, and we produce great outcomes. So that's why they're coming.
Yeah, well, great work, and welcome back.
Yeah, well, thank
we'll
you.
see you again,
it's great,
right?
Great to be back. Thanks so much.